This video is going to be the best video in the prison genre that talks about the differences between the black inmates in California and the South Side inmates in California. You always hear these comparisons or these put downs that, the black inmates are inferior to the Southsiders, and the Southsiders got this, that, and the other on their way on the mountain. Well, I'm going to break it down to you why you cannot compare both sides, right? It's just the cultural difference is just huge. And we're going to get into that. I'm going to provide you some examples with a few videos from Mr. Chill. Y'all can check out his page, 16 to Life. I'm not getting paid for this endorsement, but I'm just showing love to another brother. So we're going to get into it. But I'm telling you, this is going to be the best video that you've seen with explaining why you can't compare the two. You just can't do it. All right, so check this out.
Here's how it is, man. California prisons have been segregated by race for the longest. They'll continue to be. So it's definitely important for everybody to be under one accord, especially in times of potential violence and violence, right? And so that's definitely one thing that is better among the Hispanics in the California prisons. Blacks, when you don't have unity, it's hard to move on one accord when you need to move under one accord, and so that's something that's definitely better, right? But
okay, so off the bat, I will say, now again, I'm excluding the Northerners because I don't have a lot of experience with them. But as it relates to the Southsiders, for a fact, the Southsiders are the most organized group out of the blacks and, the Southsiders, hands down. You can tell that by the way their cells are set up, how they got to, be out of the cell at a certain time, mandatory yards, all those different things. You can tell they look like soldiers, a part of a bigger cause, right? And I'll say that all day. And I don't think you'll find a black prison channel that would say otherwise. We know that, you know what I'm saying? So with that being said, I just want to explain that although the Southsiders are more organized and, obviously it's like they're structured like the military, you still can't really say that the blacks are deficient. You just have to say they are different. And later on, I'm going to provide you a video from Dr. Jeremiah Wright that talks about the difference between something that's not different. That it's not deficient. It's just different. Now let's move on to the next video. Okay, so the volume might be a little slightly lower, so you got to pay good attention and maybe turn up your phone or device. Now listen to this, and I'll explain.
Here in Michigan, look at and listen to the University of Michigan and Michigan State University bands at halftime. Their bands hit the field with excellent European precision. Dun, 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 da, 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 da. Now go to a Florida A&M and Grambling band.
Now, you guys heard that, right? Now, in my opinion, based on that example, I would say the Southsiders, because they are super organized and they run it like the military, you cannot say comparing them to the blacks that the blacks are deficient. It's just that it's different. And you've seen in the video, right? And you've seen on YouTube and different things where you'll see the marching band. That's how the Southsiders are. It's like they'll walk around the yard or walk the chow, where they conduct themselves like a very militant group, very structured, very intentional. But with the blacks, with the bands, we're going to give that funk. We're going to give that bass. We're going to have them dancers doing their thing. It doesn't mean that it's deficient. It just means that it's different. But it's getting into different cultures. Just flat out, it's just different cultures. And I know I can show appreciation for the things that the Southsiders do with how regimented they are and how strict they are. But at the same time, with the blacks, even though they may appear to be aloof, if you will, or they may appear to be disorganized, which they are. But when it's time to get down with the get down, or when they conduct themselves, however they conduct themselves, it's just going to be different, but it's not necessarily deficient. Now let's move on to the. All right, so listen to this, right? We're going to delve in a lot deeper. Mr. Chill, he's going to provide some more expansive information. Now listen to this.
One thing that I do know, under the black structure, you can be in prison pretty much and be your own person to a certain extent, or at least you'll have more longitude than you have when you're up under the Hispanic structure. Now, let's say, for instance, you're black, you want to go out there. Let's take me as an example. When I was in Ironwood, I had a visitor bringing me weed, right? So I would go out there, I would get weed, I would take it back, and I would sell it. Now, the profit of all drugs, or pretty much any paraphernalia in the California prison system, is exponentially higher than you can make on the street. So, and so I was allowed, though, to get my weed in prison and sell my weed and keep all my money, Now being a Southern Hispanic, that if you try to go out there and you get some weed or whatever, you are going to kick some of that profit up to the higher ups, on the yard. That's just pretty much what it is. You're not allowed to hustle. You're not allowed to be your own man. Now I'm also hearing, I got a homie up there in Salinas Valley. I talked to him today. And you got some Hispanic YouTube channels saying that Hispanics, Southerners, now can't even have a cell phone. If you have a cell phone, it has to go to the higher ups in your organization so they can have it and conduct business and stuff like that. So now, if that is true, imagine being in a organization where you can't even have a cell phone.
All right. So now what I'm going to say, it's going to be like, the old church folks say, it might be tight, but it's right. When it comes to what he was talking about, that is very true. With the Hispanics, right? With the Southsiders, they have the ability and they operate on the notion that there's, one leadership structure. You're going to fall in line, or we're going to bust your head to the white meat, all that stuff. So they're more willing to have a collective one identity. Whereas with black folks, it just don't work like that. There's no way, again, like you said, if black folks got to kick up money for their drugs and all the other illegal activity, or they got to give up their cell phones, ain't no way in the world that the blacks are going to go for that, because the blacks don't subscribe to the one identity. I was going to say theology, but the one identity philosophy. They don't subscribe to that. So how can you try to compare the two different racial organizations when they have different philosophies almost up and down the ladder? You know what I'm saying? So again, with the Southsiders, they have a more willingness to identify as one, whereas the blacks, and I know some people, here he goes bringing up slavery or Jim Crow, but unfortunately it has been ingrained in the black culture that it's very, well, I won't say slavery, I'll say, during slavery too, but more so, let's say like the Jim Crow era and after and all that stuff. It's very difficult for black folks to work together, to come together as one. It just is what it is. But just because, the black inmates, it's more difficult for them to come together, or they don't have that collective one identity, they still achieve the different objectives that they have. Now, let's move on to the next video. All right, so this clip, I know it's funny, it's hilarious, but really, this really does happen within the black cars, right? In California, at least, because it's hard to explain, but it's like, I know I just stuttered, somebody probably use that on a blooper reel, but it's like, it's almost impossible to try to get black folks to be on one accord. Now, when it's time for, black inmates to get down because they're a riot, they're going to do their thing and they're going to be a formidable opponent. They're going to get down. But for the day-to-day stuff and trying to get that unity, it's totally different just because of the cultural aspects of things. So watch this real quick.
I'm not getting on the ground.
You gonna get your ass on that.
I'm not getting on the ground.
What is the problem?
Because I just bought this suit. I'm not getting on the ground because it's filthy. They don't wash these carpets.
Fine, I'll get you a suit.
Okay.
Now I'm gonna pause this just for copyright purposes, but in this, right now, if this would have been an order from the Southsiders that, hey, you whatever to do, not necessarily saying get on the ground, but hey, we need you to do something, more than likely they're going to do it because they know the repercussions, but also they know that there's this collective one identity. But as you can see in this video, if you ask a black person to do that, you ain't my daddy. You're not going to tell me what to do. This, that, and the other. And my mama died years ago. You ain't my mama, whatever the case may be, right? And I've seen it. I've talked to inmates after, the incidents would happen where they fighting over power struggles or failure to follow, suggestions. I can't even say orders, but failure to follow suggestions within their cars. So this is real. Now let's continue on.
Would I be robbing a bank if I had the goddamn money?
I can't help you with that, but I'm not getting on this damn ground.
Get it out the register.
Oh, it's not coming out my drawer, boo-boo. I could get fired for that.
Jackie Robinson, get your old ass up. Get the money out the register. How much was the suit?
Oh, $400 for the suit.
Give me $400.
But I'm gonna need $300 for my shoes that can get scuffed on the way down.
Give me the fucking $400 plus the $3.
Oh, wait, and $2 for my hair, because this carpet filthy. I can't, my hair. So that's 2, 4, 3, that's 9, rounded up. Yeah, a G. I'll take a G.
Get the motherfucking G out the... Get the G out the register. Count it out.
I want big bills.
The fucking bills, bitch.
Get the big bills, bitch.
Get the big bills, bitch.
It's fun.
Man, I know some people are going to be looking at that like, man, what is he talking about? And then some are going to be like, man, he's on point. But the reality is, it is just very difficult to get Black folks to be unified. And that's why, in my opinion, the Southsiders, in that regard, they definitely have the upper hand for sure, because they have that collective one identity. Whereas, as you've seen with this, comedy sketch or whatever it was, it's just very difficult. It don't matter if it's even in prison. It could be out on the streets dealing with free people. It don't matter. It is going to be extremely difficult. Now, although, you could argue that as a deficiency, because in any organization, you need to have structure, you need to have discipline. So in that regard, you can say, okay, they are deficient in that area. But as far as the totality of the circumstances, that's a legal term, based on the totality of the circumstances, you would have to say, when you compare the Black inmates to the Southsiders in California, it's really just going to boil down to it's different. Because at the end of the day, what it really boils down to, when those two Titan groups clash, that's where you're going to get that money, right? That's where the rubber meets the road. And when they clash, both sides, they are strong opponents. And sometimes the Southsiders win. Sometimes the Blacks win. Sometimes the Southsiders lose. Sometimes the Blacks lose. But just trust me, it's not that it's all the way around that it's deficient. It's just that it's different. Now, I got one more video for you.
You have this guy on this channel, Renegade Media, talking about a video just that, where, the Northern Hispanics, the Southern Hispanics have to give up their cell phones and stuff like that. So now, is being part of an organization, is that something that, that doesn't allow you individualism? Is that cool? It just all depends on who you asking, especially being part of an organization or a collective that doesn't allow you individualism, when you are willing to sacrifice your life, your freedom, your health, because when you're in prison and you have to go out here and get into a racially motivated fight or defend the honor of your collective, you're willing to put your health, your life on the line and stuff like that. And they are boxing in what you can and you cannot do. I mean, that's definitely something that I know the brothers wouldn't go for. That's definitely something that the brothers wouldn't go for. So
now, as you heard it from his mouth, it just is what it is. And I can say, looking at it objectively, I can say that the Southside structure does give an upper hand against the inmates, but I won't say it gives the upper hand. You know what I'm saying? Because again, you got to look at the totality of the circumstances. So absolutely, hands down, the Southside are more structured. They're more organized. They're more intentional, all that stuff. I give it to them. They get the award. You know what I'm saying? But when you look at the overall structure and when it's time for them to clash, that's where the rubber meets the road. And I can tell you, it comes down to cultural differences. It's almost kind of like, you have I don't know, you might have an alligator and then you might have a shark or whatever, right? They're both in the water. They do their thing. Obviously, alligator can go on land, but you get the point, right? Alligators are dangerous. Sharks are dangerous. But obviously, what I'm saying, they're two different types of animals. They're in two different types of environments. And you can use the other list for, different animals, right? It's just they're different. It's just different cultures. You just cannot say, okay, well, this one's different, that one's different, because you got to base it on the culture. But again, hands down, the Southsiders are more organized. But I can tell you this, right? Even though the blacks have their issues, talking about the totality of the circumstances, right? When it's crazy, like you will have blacks that are so disorganized, they don't want to come together as a collective one. But when it's time to get down with the get down, I mean, they come together and they will fight. And it's crazy. Like it may be somebody that, you know, or people, two different groups that don't like each other. They don't talk to each other, really. They don't do nothing. But when it's time to fight, they come together. So with the Southsiders, they're going to be more inclined to come together throughout anything, just day and night. It don't matter. Even if it's a season of peace and no war, they're going to be together. But for the blacks, the only time that they're going to come on one accord or become on one accord and be together, it's really when they have to do it. You know what I'm saying? So hopefully you got some kind of edification out of this video. And I'm telling you, from the videos I've seen on YouTube and other social media apps or whatever, hands down, this is the best video with explaining things. Just hands down, in my opinion. You don't have to be a rocket scientist to understand this, but there is a difference. And with that difference, it doesn't mean that it's deficient. It's just that it's different. So hopefully you got something out of this. Drop a comment. Let me know what you think about the video. And until the next one, holla at your boy.